This is a test. This is a test. Can you hear me? Thank you.
One, two, 1, 2.
Good morning, Kim.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, hello, hello. Anybody there?
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Deskovich.
Pretty hair.
Good morning, Commissioners Figures and Servone.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Much as I like being with you guys, it's a lot more convenient to do this from Brevard County.
Is everybody affected by the phone outages this morning?
Oh, is that what the problem was?
I have a Freddie Figures phone. My phone didn't go out.
Your phone's not out?
It didn't go out. I have a Freddie Figures phone.
It's been interesting. We've gotten so many calls, like people like, hey, how can we reroute calls to your network? So it's been interesting, and a lot of 911 centers are affected, the peace apps.
Well, and here I thought it was just me because I'm computer illiterate.
I guess I don't know what you do, but you have a phone system that's working right now? Because that's appealing. It's very appealing.
Oh,
Now.
yes. No, we're operational carriers, so we haven't had an outage since 2015, and we intentionally did it to upgrade our network.
Huh. Okay. Well, sometime we need to talk outside of business about
Yes,
because this is really tough.
yes.
I've got someone at the Orlando airport, which is an hour away right now, in the Sky Club lounge because he has Wi-Fi. He can't get an Uber because so we're just trying to carve for this to send over to get him. This is crazy.
Aren't Uber guys on strike?
No, cell phones are out. So you can't without a phone, you can't order an Uber. Like everything's coming to a standstill without service
Right.
on the phone.
We've gone back in time. It's the 80s again.
Well, I said you could rent a car. I could send you step-by-step directions because you can't use your map. It's like a map, it's crazy.
So you're back to the days of driving while you looking at a map. Need a navigator.
Yeah, if you could find a map. I mean, could you even buy a map at the airport right now? Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
And men don't use maps. We just get lost till we find our way. We don't need no freaking map. We just keep driving. Somebody shows where
That's
we're
right.
going.
That's right.
So, Steve, I have not business type questions, but more structure type questions. Is this a public meeting right now?
This is a public meeting. My understanding is that the Florida channel is here, and it's open to members of the public, and it was publicly noticed. And so there is a link for people to click on, and they can join, and they will be in the gallery, so to speak. So they won't be presenters like you all, where you're visible on the screen right now. There's also a phone number that people can call in on. Those things are being monitored by Lynn Blaze. And when we open things up for public comment later on, we'll have to unmute some people just to see if there's public comment. So that will be, but it's open to the public right now.
In compliance with the sunshine law, right?
That's what I wanted to make sure of before I want to make sure we're just doing everything right. So we're not getting in any kind of trouble. I'm sure we are, but I just wanted confirmation for myself. So it says 15 participants. Does that number, if 20 people start watching, will that number grow on the bottom? Do you know? Is that what we'll see happen?
I will double check on that right now. I'll be right back.
Okay. I mean, it's not that important of a question. Just curious.
We're getting popular. We got 15 people watching us.
No, I think that counts us. And we've got three. We got 3 people about what we're doing right now. It's about as popular as school boards used to be before 2020.
Okay,
Good morning.
good morning.
Hello there.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for making time to be here. Can anybody hear me?
Can anyone hear Chair Lucas?
Yes.
I
Yes.
can.
No,
Commissioner Servone, or you're not able to hear Chair Lucas at all,
no,
but you can hear me.
I can. If the chair,
Okay.
say something, please.
Something,
See.
please.
There you go. Got it now.
Okay.
No, you've disappeared again.
Hold tight just a mic. She's working on it.
All right, is this better?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better.
We might have an issue with the echo, but
You can mute when she speaks.
okay. All right, now can we officially start with roll call?
Commissioner Ankers, Commissioner Servone,
Here.
Commissioner Deskovich,
Here.
Commissioner Figurs,
Here.
Commissioner Fuste,
Here.
Commissioner Lucas,
Here.
Commissioner Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All righty. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So this morning, the purpose of this meeting is the consideration of expenditure for an electronic filing call center. Were you looking at me because you needed something? Or oh, good. Okay, just wanted to make sure I didn't skip something. This is not a quasi judicial proceeding, so there will be opportunity for public comment prior to the commission's vote. And I'm not talking to myself, everyone. I swear, I'm in the room with Stephen Carey, so I'm not just talking to random folks. The staff has provided the commission with Alight Solutions as its selected vendor for the call center, and Alight's representative, Mr. Matthew Leahy, is joining us today in case members have specific questions for Alight. We are advised by commission staff that some of the information in the documents provided to us relates to information asserted by the vendor to be trade secrets. The documents provided in the public record have that information redacted. At this time, I'll recognize Steve to briefly review our responsibilities related to trade secret information in our possession.
Do you want to unmute or mute?
Okay. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. All right. Alight has asserted that some of the information it supplied in its responses to the RFI and the RFQ are trade secrets. And in your materials, that information has a red square around it and the word redacted in the margin beside it. The public version of that has the redacted version where the information is redacted. I sent you an email with a summary of the concerns around trade secrets. I know you already read that prior to today, so I'll be brief here. The public records law has special treatment for trade secrets. The public records law renders all trade secrets held by an agency both confidential and exempt. This means that officers and employees of the Commission on Ethics cannot disclose trade secrets in their possession without authorization from a light. You are used to having confidential materials in your possession due to your other work with the Commission. Normally, however, when we give you confidential information, you are discussing it in executive session, and in those situations, you are free to talk. Today's a little different. Today, your materials have confidential information, but your discussion of those materials is occurring in a public session. This will require you to be a little bit careful with your discussion today. One of the things that's confidential here is the component pricing. If you want to discuss the pricing of the customer service representatives or the project manager, you can do that, but you need to refer to it without referring to specific numbers. That is the confidential information. That's some of the among the many things that are confidential information here in trade secrets that were asserted. So make sure you don't use those specific numbers as in your discussion. You can just refer to it as the customer service pricing or the project manager pricing. If you need help navigating that at any point during the meeting, please let me know. I'd be happy to work through that with you. And commissioners, if there are no questions about that, I'm happy to turn the floor back over to Chair Lucas.
All right, thank you, Steve. Hearing no questions, we'll move on to recognize Carrie to summarize the processes that the Commission took in selecting Alight as the call center vendor in the requested expenditure.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lucas. Thank you for joining us, commissioners. We're excited to present the call center information to you this morning. With EFDMS operational in 2024, as you know, the Commission will be working with nearly 40,000 reporting individuals who have an annual filing requirement due July 1. A majority of those filers, more than 22,000, are local filers who were required in past years to file with their local supervisors of elections. Many of those local filers would also contact their supervisor of elections office for assistance with their disclosure because it was a filing location for their forms and they were often familiar with those folks. That means this year, we will have more than 35,000 state and local employees filing electronically for the first time, with many of them filing for the first time with the Commission. So we'll have all those Form 1 and Form 6 filers with us this year, which is new. And the electronic filing is new for many of those as well. In 2023, the Commission staff successfully navigated the Form 6 launch for the 2,600 Form 6 filers, as well as the paper filings of the state level Form 1 filers. There were about 13,000 of those who filed with the Commission. Our staff handled all of the calls related to those forms. As a part of implementing customer service for e-filing this year, we recognize that there'll be a need for additional staffing to handle call volumes concerning any login issues and common Form 1 questions that are encountered in EFDMS. We plan to continue to service all the Form 6 filers here. So it will be the Form 1 filers who will get routed through the call center. In order to determine the best approach, I worked to gather information from other state agencies and spoke to individuals who had experience with operating and managing call centers. Discussions about total call volume, staffing levels, call duration, hold times, expected number of calls handled each day, as well as best practices and potential pitfalls were a part of those conversations. From those discussions, it became clear that there were a few significant challenges the Commission faces in planning for customer service assistance this year. First of all, we don't have call volume metrics for local filers, particularly those who filed with their local supervisors of elections in the past. We need staffing flexibility to know when we may need to add staff to meet demand, so we're not caught flat-footed as the filing instances increase as we go towards the deadline. Also, we do not possess the technology or personnel required to handle a major call volume increase for a partial year. This is not something that I believe we can accomplish successfully with our existing staff. So in December, we worked with the purchasing office at the Office of Legislative Services and their general counsel to develop a request for information. It was sent to 3 companies in Florida for a response, and based on the responses to the request for information, or the RFI, we then sent an RFQ to 3 companies. 2 companies submitted timely responses to the RFQ, and interviews were scheduled with the RFQ review team. That team consisted of members of the commission staff, as well as the chief information officers from the House, Senate, and the Office of Legislative Services. Prior to those scheduled interviews, 1 company withdrew from consideration. So the team interviewed Alight Solutions, and then Steve and I engaged in additional conversations with Mr. Leahy, Alight's representative, who again is here with us today, regarding the details involved with the project, as well as pricing considerations. The RFI, the RFQ, and Alight's responses were included in your materials for this meeting. Mr. Leahy, being here today, will be available to answer questions that you might have for him as well. The review team was confident in Alight's ability to successfully implement the call center for the Ethics Commission in relation to e-filing. The plan includes 8 call center representatives located in Florida, as well as 2 bilingual representatives who will likely be located in Puerto Rico. Alight's team will also consist of a project manager to oversee the technology required to implement the project, as well as the call center representatives. Alight has the expertise to hire skilled representatives who will perform as an extension of the commission, assisting filers with a variety of questions related to system navigation, the filing process, and common questions about completing the Form 1 disclosure. Their technology will provide the commission with accurate metrics about call volume and call duration and hold times that will help us determine and predict any need to scale up quickly and possibly scale down when calls fall off towards the end. We may also have the option to utilize an automated callback feature to reduce wait times, where callers can choose to enter a callback number rather than wait on hold. The information gathered throughout this upcoming filing season will also provide a basis as we plan to improve our processes and call center for next year's disclosure season. We know the EFDMS system works, but we do anticipate a high demand this year for customer assistance, for help completing the form, as well as basic IT support, and even the possibility that I dread of system glitches that the Commission's IT pros would need to handle. The Commission has a well-established reputation in its culture of customer service. Public officers and employees who have filed disclosures in the past and worked with the Commission, they're conditioned to expect a very high level of service. A concierge-like experience where a person will take their call, and if their question is not answered in that call, a follow-up solution is provided within a business day or a few business days. Without a doubt, filers and the public will conflate the success of the technical aspect of the electronic filing system with the call center success. The technical navigation of the system and the Commission's service to filers must both be successful. This is a huge project for an agency of our size. Our greatest risk this filing season would be falling short of expectations on customer assistance. It is difficult for your staff to think about handing off these responsibilities. We don't take this lightly, but it is necessary given the scope of the work that must be accomplished. The total cost of the project quoted by Alight, based on a start date of April 8th and a completion date of July 31st, would be $413,800. If we need to keep the 10 representatives until September 5th through the grace period, the expected cost would be $533,800. Steve and I have been on a number of calls with Alight's team and the Office of Legislative Services since the RFQs were submitted. And with your approval of the expenditure today, we will be able to finalize the remaining details and terms for the contract and for the project, and prepare for the hiring and training of these call center representatives and the phased rollouts of the welcome invitations to the system and filing notifications for the filing season. We believe that the technology and level of service Alight's team can provide will facilitate timely, accurate responses to requests for assistance. And we're excited to move forward with Alight on the project. There are two big reasons we like Alight. Their ability to provide responsive metrics and to respond to those metrics when there is an indicated need that we need to scale up quickly, as well as their track record with other state contracts, including the State Board of Administration and the Department of Management Services. My spending authority is limited to $10,000, and I ask the Commission's approval for the expenditure using carry forward funds, and we do have adequate carry forward funds once we have fully negotiated and signed those contract details. As always, I'm happy to answer your questions. Mr. Leahy is on. He's turned on his camera. He's available. And so for now, I'll turn things back to the chair. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. That was very informative. And for the group, just as a matter of procedure, I know we all probably have questions, but those are going to come in just a minute. So I'll make sure everyone has a chance to ask their questions. But first, this is a public meeting. So pursuant to section 286.0114, Florida statutes, members of the public have the opportunity to have input on any matter before the commission, other than in cases in which we act in quasi-judicial capacity. The commission didn't receive any email comments from the public on the matter before us today. However, if there is any member of the public who would like to speak about the matter that's before us, and you're joining from your computer, you could please raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button on your computer so you can be recognized to speak. And at this time, I'd also ask the Commission's Zoom coordinator to allow the public in attendance by phone the opportunity to unmute themselves by pressing *6. And so if you're a member of the public joining us and like to speak on the call center expenditure, you can press 6 and state your name to be recognized. Are we able to tell if we have any raised hands?
Madam Chair, there are no members raising their hands or called in.
Okay. So is that
That's it.
Okay, what about by phone? Nothing by phone?
No one is called in by phone. We have also not received any emails.
Okay. All right, so there's been no public comment, request to speak. So now members will open the floor to ask questions of either Ms. Stillman or Mr. Leahy from Alight.
Move approval authorizing the expenditure, Representative Newton.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, I see a raised hand on Commissioner Deskovich.
Are you impressed? I know how to use the tool. I just have a question about the budget. I asked Ms. Stillman to send it over this morning. She sent me kind of a summary so I could take a quick look at it. I just, good responsibility to look at it, and so we have the funds for it. And I don't think I'm reading it correctly. I wanted to call and have a discussion before this with you, so we didn't have to do this at the public meeting, but this is my only choice with the phone system down. So when I look at what you all sent over, I must not be looking at it right, is what I'm thinking, because what I see is carry forward 22-23 is 246,000, and then last year only 124,000. So that's not the fund balance, I'm assuming, if you think we have the money to pay for this. Can you just walk me through this really quick and point where the funds are?
Yes, Commissioner, through the chair. If you look at the carry forward expenditures, it's near the top of the fact sheet that I provided to you. On the left column, you will see the word carry forward, about the third box down on the left column. And if you follow that across, we have over $3 million there.
So what is the total budget then? What is we begin the year with how much?
The operating budget that we requested this year is just over $3 million, $3,059,479.
Okay.
These funds would not come out of that dollar amount. These funds would come from the carry forward dollars that have accumulated over previous years coming in under budget.
So we sit on $3 million a year and then ask for another $3 million the following year. Is there a reason for that? It doesn't sound very fiscally responsible,
Yeah.
unless you knew this was coming, or you knew we were self-insured. Like, why would we sit for 3 years on $3 million in our fund balance?
Each year through the chair, the commission comes in approximately 5 to 10% under budget. Just things don't happen that we expect to happen. Money goes back to the state. That falls into carry forward dollars. That is part of the reason that rather than budgeting for this call center in our budget, we requested with the legislature, as we were working through the launch of this system, to be allowed to access carry forward dollars to pay for one-time unanticipated expenses. So I think with this system, we're probably going to chip away a little bit at that carry forward balance, and we are always trying to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars each year. So this balance has accumulated over a number of years.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all. That's the only question I had.
Thank you.
And I apologize. I keep having to toggle between muting my own computer speakers and my microphone. So I couldn't hear if there was conversation during the public comment period where someone was telling me to go ahead. I couldn't hear that. So I apologize. I apologize if there's background noise. Does anybody else have any questions of either Ms. Stillman or Mr. Leahy?
I just have one question. I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So, Mr. Leahy, will it be a new DID extension created just for the call rerouting, or will we have a new extension from the Commission of Ethics office to roll over?
I'm not sure that I understand the question. So maybe because it's a technical question, I'm not a technical person, but can you rephrase that for me, please? Can you all hear, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just and I think Ms. Stillman, just the question is, are we creating a new extension for the call center, or we would just have the live ops representatives forward the calls over to the new DID for the call center?
Through the chair, Commissioner Figures will be working with our IT team to determine the best, most efficient way to do that. We will have a means for calls to be routed when people call our office in terms of routing them to the call center, and we may well establish a dedicated number to dial straight to the call center as well. Okay. Those will be some of the details that we'll work out in the next few weeks, working with our CIOs in determining the best path forward with that.
Okay, great. No further questions.
Okay. Sure, Commissioner Fuste, go ahead.
Just really quick, it's probably axiomatic, but we will then obviously have some data moving forward as far as volume of calls. We'll be able to amass all that, right? So then when we move forward progressively, we'll have an idea of what volume is coming in as a result of all this, correct?
Through the chair, Commissioner Fuste, it's one of the things I'm most excited about is to actually know how many calls each day we're getting. And Mr. Leahy can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're going to be able to tell us how many calls they're fielding a day, the duration of those calls, the hold times associated with those calls. We'll be having daily meetings with them throughout the process to make sure we have the most up-to-date information. And that will be infinitely helpful, not only this year, but for planning for next year. We'll be able to have a lot more specifics in terms of call center contracting moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Leahy, could you discuss what ability, if any, there is to scale down at any point during the life of the contract?
Yes, that's one of the things that we talked about as we went through our interviews and discussions. That really, because there's a lack of experience between our organizations with what this call volume will look like, we perhaps sure that we could, if staff was unnecessary, mitigate some of that cost and reduce the resources, and we've committed to being able to do that. I think some of what Director Stillman has talked about is, the idea that these metrics come in, we'll be monitoring the call volumes even down to kind of intervals throughout the course of the day, so that if we can see that really what we need to do is peak staff kind of at lunchtime or the beginning of the day, or that kind of thing, we can make some adjustments in order to really, I think, service the filers, but also mitigate cost impact to the commission. So we are able to do that, and would do that in discussion with your team. And I think the other thing that we'll work on doing is having an open line of communication, so that we can really assess what are our options in the event call volumes are too high. People are having unsatisfactory kind of wait time, and I think that as Ms. Stillman mentioned, we can talk either about adding staff in those intervals, or we can talk about just making the callback feature for people for when they're in the queue. We find that people like that option, so they don't sit on the phone for an extended period of time. We call them back. But so flexing in either direction, I think, is something we'll be paying particular attention to, especially early on. But as we go along, if call volumes drift off quickly, we can take the staff down as appropriate.
So I would, in response to that, just add that feature is one that I found very appealing, especially when we're going into a situation where it's anyone's guess what's really going to happen. The possibility of reduction was very appealing to me.
And is the thought also that now that we'll have these metrics that we've really never had at this level before, that if this, to the extent that the service is needed, whether in this exact capacity or in a similar capacity going forward in future years, the determination of staffing levels would be a little bit more of a science as opposed to the art that it is this year. Is that accurate?
Is that a question for me?
I would love to hear from both of y'all on that.
Go ahead, Mr. Leahy, you first.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's absolutely the goal. And I think one of the challenges that we've talked through as we kind of begin to work together is that there is a lack of history, and this is new to all of us, right? So we want to be able to react quickly, but the statistics that we get will certainly inform what's necessary for even towards the end of this year, but certainly into future years as you look to service these filers. We'll get much better, just to put a pin on it, we'll get much better information, but also have, that will lead to our ability to say, well, what's really the right staffing? We do this for, kind of annual enrollment or, solicitations we do in our space all the time. And we see peaks early on in it, open this up. And then towards the end, the question is how much consistent volume do you have throughout? So we'll be paying particular attention to that, adjusting as we need to.
And I would add to that as we move forward and we have these metrics, we'll be able to maybe put a contract in place for more than just a limited period of time. And that might help mitigate some of the costs, spread them over different years. But with that kind of specificity, we'll be able to really have a much better tailor-made solution and, more of a quantitative approach than a qualitative approach that we've had to take this year. And we really look forward to that.
So if I can follow up on that, I'm assuming that what you're saying is that could alleviate any concerns about staffing in the agency.
It will really help us in terms of staffing here. Having those numbers, knowing what we'll expect. We know what we've experienced over the last couple of decades when forms have been filed here. We know that on how we know calls increase and decrease at certain times. When we do a notice, when we notify filers, when they start receiving those notice, there's an uptick, and then it dies off after a couple of days. And with the phased rollouts of these notices, we're going to have every couple of days sort of an uptick in those callers. And of course, the last couple of weeks and that last week is very frenzied in terms of telephone calls. And one of the warnings I received from a number of folks that I talked to about call centers is the worst thing we can do is be caught flat-footed and not have enough for the demand, because it's very hard if you start off with too few to catch up. So we did our best to estimate what we thought would be a nice starting place without starting with too many or too few, and gradually warm up to what will be a very busy grind in the month of June.
So, Ms. Stillman, if we were to not go forward with this, given that you had no other bidders, do we have an option, or would we simply be leaving your staff in the unenviable position of having to potentially deal with an overwhelming influx that they couldn't handle?
Thank you for that question through the chair, Commissioner Cervone. I have given that a lot of thought, and we would pivot. We would have to pivot quickly. I think we would we'd have to advertise and hire those positions in-house as temporary OPS people and set up a call center in the space, in the empty space in the office building where we are currently located, and supervise that. Where we would be at a severe disadvantage would be in the middle of our busy filing season, working to be able to scale up and properly train individuals to come on staff quickly if we operated it in-house. And that's why we felt like going with an established company who handles call centers, who has a great deal of experience and a great track record, would be an invaluable asset to us as we navigate this newness ourselves this year. With, and the fact that we have no metrics to facilitate that. Certainly we would not have the kind of technology to be able to do the kinds of things that Alight is going to be able to do for us through this filing season in terms of prediction of needs.
Well, you're clearly, tell me if I'm misreading this, you're clearly comfortable that going with Alight is the best solution to alleviate the potential problems you face.
We are confident in that.
Well, that certainly goes a long ways with me.
Did anyone else have any questions of either Mr. Leahy or Ms. Stillman?
Madam Chair.
Please.
Just one statement. Just going off Director Stillman. And I agree with her. Trying to set it up in-house, it would be literally impossible to create a new workflow system and just the new call flow. So going with Alight would be pretty much the easiest solution.
And I have a statement also, Rep. Newton. I made the motion that was already seconded. This is the best course. You have a company in Alight who's already done work with the other state agencies, so they've been tested and they work with us, and it's as needed. I mean, you pay for seat time and calls. You're not going to just pay them to be there. If we don't use it, I don't think we'll have to pay for it, if I'm not mistaken. But you have to scale at a certain level and then be able to go up or down to accommodate that. And I think the gentleman already explained that he could do that. So I think it's the best way. I think it's going to be cost effective because you can't hire people you can't set up a call center, but you got to pay benefits and retirements and all that. And by the time you get to doing that, you'd be around $4 or $5 million, and you still have to train them. So I think for what we need right now, this is going to be the best course of action going forward. If we have a volume that's more than we expected, and if it's cost effective to bring people on, hire and train them and put them in Carrie's office, then we can do that. But right now, I think this is the best course of action, and I would hopefully that my members would approve this.
Thank you. And I want to apologize. I didn't know that there was already a motion in a second. I feel like it's kind of spring 2020, how poorly I'm feeling to navigate a Zoom meeting right now. So thanks everyone for your patience. Before we take a vote on the pending motion, just because I didn't hear it, just for the benefit of the public, since it is a recorded meeting, could we restate the exact amount of the expenditure that we'd be approving? Carrie, would you mind? Sorry, because there's two numbers in the materials, and so I want to make sure that if we're approving one or both, I want to make sure that's clear.
Okay. The total cost of the project is quoted.
Carrie, I've lost audio.
Like she said, we're back in 2020. My apologies. I'm unmuted now. The total cost for an April through the end of July contract would be $413,800. If we kept the additional, if we needed to keep the 10 representatives on until September 5th to account for the filing grace period, the expected cost would be $533,800. What I would ask for today is the leeway for the full amount through September 5th, 2024, which is $533,800. I can tell you that we see a drastic fall off in the number of callers after that July 1 due date. It does build a little bit towards September 1. We may not need to keep all 10 on. We may, like Mr. Leahy said, have to add people in and bring them off over time. But I will be happy to update you with progress and our staffing levels with Alight at our April meeting, which is towards the end of April, after they will have already started, and we will begin rolling out notices to filers, as well as our June meeting, provide an update, and if there's any sort of adjustments that might need to be made, you would be updated specifically.
All right, well, with a motion to approve the full amount of $533,800 in a second, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the expenditure, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the expenditure is approved. Is there any closing business, Ms. Stillman?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, with that, we're adjourned, and thank you, Mr. Leahy, also for being here and answering our questions this morning.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
See you all soon.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.